On Sunday, we set off on our jet boat trip from where we live in Wrangell, Alaska, up the Stikine River to Telegraph in Canada. We had two friends visiting from Washington with a limited window of time to make the trip, so we left in overcast weather and hoped that we wouldn't get rained on too much. A lot of people had told us that not too long after passing the Canadian border, it changed from our temperate rainforest into a desert climate. So I was really excited to document this change in landscape. I used to take a train to visit family every year in Colorado, and along the river it was sparsely treed and there was a lot of sagebrush, so I was looking forward to seeing that again.
My God.
We took a detour into this creek, and at the entrance we actually saw a brown bear, but it didn't stay around long enough for me to get a picture. As we pulled around the corner, we saw this amazing waterfall. As the river became more braided, we had to be really careful to pick the right pathway so we didn't run into a dead end. The scenery was beautiful, but there were still the same evergreens and alders and cottonwoods along the shoreline, and I started wondering, where's the desert and where's the sagebrush and stuff? Okay, Paxton, so here's a little red canoe paddling down from Telegraph. I wasn't sure if the Stikine River was dangerous up this far, but it looks like it's not. A few swirlies here and there, but people float down it all the time. We had spent a couple of nights camped out on sandbars in our tents, and the next day in the afternoon, as we got closer to Telegraph, we started seeing stands of aspen, and the air got warmer and drier.
You and your brother stand clear. I got no interest in you today. Stand clear and you won't get hurt.
So this was a little bit more like what I'd expected. You could smell the pine trees, and there was all this bare rock. This little canyon, or whatever you might want to call it, that we went through was one of my favorite things along the trip. The surrounding mountains started looking more arid. And then we passed these rocks planted right in the middle of the river. We started seeing buildings up on our left, but really didn't think much of it until we'd passed them and realized that that was the town of Telegraph Creek. We turned around and tied up to the pier, and then walked up the dirt road to look at the historical buildings. And then we waited for the person who was going to meet us and take us up to the gas station grocery store so we could fill our fuel tanks. We were able to get in to see the museum, and my favorite part were the photographs along the wall, some names familiar from the town of Wrangell, and also pictures of the Tahltan people who are native to this area of the Stikine River. After our fuel tanks were full, we headed back down the river, and that night we ended up staying at a regular campsite. It was just around the corner here, and we got visited by a black bear in the morning, which fortunately just ran off. But it was at this point that I realized that I had been making the wrong video. The cool part of this trip was not so much the change in landscape, which hadn't really been that significant. It was really about finding a place to camp at night, somewhere where it was breezy enough that there weren't a lot of bugs, making a campfire so that we could make some dinner, setting up our tents. That's what this video should have been about. The next day we got dumped on, and it was full-on rain gear, so we decided that night to stay in a Forest Service cabin. There are a number of Forest Service cabins along the Stikine River. Most of them have a similar layout: a bunk on one side, a table, a ladder going up to a loft, and then a bunk on the other side, and just a single door at the entrance, looking out onto the river. We stayed at the cabin near Shakes Lake and Glacier because our friends hadn't seen the actual glacier yet, and so we planned to go there the next morning. We looked out on the beautiful scenery and had a campfire as usual. So I'll leave you with a view of the glacier. Maybe next time, maybe next year if we go to Telegraph again, I plan on doing a camping video.